History has a place for us, said the Verve's Richard Ashcroft in 1993. It may take 3 albums, but we'll be there. 4 years later, history proved him right. The band's third album, Urban Hymns, topped the charts and sold 7 million copies. Music critics described the Verve then as the last great band of the 20th century. With the singles Bittersweet Symphony, The Drugs Don't Work and Lucky Man vying with each other for airplay and accolades, the band played their biggest ever show to 80,000 adoring fans at Slane in Ireland, and then promptly split up. Long simmering tensions within the group had proved too much, and more than anything else it became clear that Ashcroft and his creative foil, guitarist Nick McCabe, could no longer work together. Having taken 3 albums developing his songwriting within the band to world-class status, Ashcroft was faced with the uncertainty of a solo career, once again avowing that it might take 3 albums, but history would have a place for his solo work also. So far, it's been very unwise to bet against him.
The first thing that got me interested in music, I think it was at school. Just the start of comprehensive school. An older friend got into the Smiths, and I remember just getting this, I think it was Hatful of Hollow, and then playing How Soon Is Now on the headphones, just getting into that teen sort of angst period. I remember that Johnny Marr's guitar, and that probably was a defining moment for me. Wondering why this music was having such an effect on me, you know. I think most people, I was born in '71, so there was a couple of beats in my mum's record collection. It was Revolver, The Carpenters, and bizarre Pink Floyd, The Final Cut, which I never understood. Why was that one in there? And Black Explosion, which was a soul compilation. So melody and music and stuff were always in the house, but a deeper feeling for music came in my sort of early teens. And when I actually thought, yeah, I'm going to be a musician, was about 15, 16. And it is the cliche, it's the no band yet, can't play chords. And I did, you know, telling the careers advisor that music is my future. You know, well, what's the band called? I don't know. You know, can you play? No. Have you got any songs? No. Have you got any ideas? No. But that's what I'm going to do.
The Verve started life in Wigan in the mid-80s, when Ashcroft, then an aspiring footballer, hooked up with musical friends Nick McCabe, Simon Jones, Simon Tong and Pete Salisbury.
I knew Pete and Cy Tong from school. We met Nick McCabe at college. We were already in a band before we met Nick, but I just heard his guitars. I heard his actual guitars coming from a room with the door closed. I didn't know what he looked like. And just waited for whoever was making that noise to come out and say, I want to be in a band with you. And then brought in my friends and brought in Pete. Pete used to play drums for the school band, kind of, you know, it was one of those. And then we went into an intensive few years of leaving college, going on the dole. And those few years were the thing that really, truly sealed the Verve's and my whole kind of future, really.
The Verve's early days were spent in the post-Manchester era, when once again it was grim up north. The sole interest in what they were doing came from Hut Records' David Boyd. He'd also signed Smashing Pumpkins.
To even get a reply from a demo tape, because although the Manchester thing had happened, that had been and gone. It's almost like the tumbleweed was blowing back in Manchester again. All the A&R people and everyone had moved out. The thing was dead. So the North again started feeling isolated. So you're sending your tapes off, and even a positive reply was like a buzz. You know, it felt like you were sending these things off into infinity, and the concept of it coming back was just. So the first time we got a positive, it was incredible. And you know, we looked like a mad bunch then, and I had a kind of skinhead with a big, massive bubble coat on. And God knows what they saw in us, you know. They saw something in us. And subsequently they went on to believe in us for a few years. We got a chance. Not many bands do get a chance. So when you get that chance, when it's there, I think that mad naivety, that mad desire to get away and make it happen pushed us on at the beginning, and also created an air of, through what I said, it created an air. I built us up. I mean, we did our first concert with a band called the Tansads in Wigan. And the lead singer rang me and said, "You're acting like some fascist Svangeli, what are you doing?" Because I did this interview in the local paper and said, "Oh, the town's not big enough, you know, this is when the Verve were unheard of." And Tansads were like the big band in Wigan. I said, "This town's not big enough for the two of us." I said, "We're going to blow them off stage." And this was like a charity gig at the Wigan Pier. And this guy couldn't believe it. He was like, "What are you doing, man? why are you saying things like that? I'm saying, I'm selling the ticket, man, don't you understand? I'm getting it, you know, I'm selling the ticket. It's Don, you know, I'm doing my Don King bit, I'm hyping it. And that was part of my personality then. It was all about, I was like a caveman then. You know, I literally loincloth, chunk of hash, no shoes, London, I hate you, not doing that, not miming in videos, can't do that. You know, we were difficult people to work with. Our first video, we couldn't mime. We just couldn't do it. So they had to bring gear in and we played a different song. So on All in the Mind, the first video, you see my mouth singing a completely different song because the concept of even miming was making us feel incredibly uncomfortable and, you know, almost like we were selling out.
Now the drugs don't work, we're getting on. It's getting
The early Verve were fueled more by obsessive self-belief than obvious talent, but their second album, A Northern Soul, had 2 songs, On Your Own and History, that began to showcase Ashcroft's emerging songwriting talent.
On the first album I wrote, See You in the Next One, totally on my own. The rest of the material we often wrote in jams, and I think the reason I went on to write songs is because I was an arranger without knowing it. I was stood with the mic, I was listening to these big swaves of psychedelic guitar music that sometimes we'd go on for 45 minutes in the practice room, but that 45 minutes within it, there was 4 or 5 moments of magic, and they needed to be brought down like this is music. I came back and heard this is music. It was 35-minute piece. It was funkadelic, Jimi Hendrix. It was an incredible piece, but there was a chance there to bring it together and make it into an explosive song. And that's what I started doing. I started helping arrange this music, and then I'd put the melody and the lyric over the top, which, without me knowing it, gave me a bit of knowledge for later on. But yeah, when I first did History and On Your Own on Northern Soul, I played On Your Own 35 times on a little tape recorder to myself back in the room because I couldn't believe how it started. Had a middle and then it ended and it seemed all balanced and clear and crystal. Yeah, that was a great moment.
Starting to write more and more on his own, Ashcroft developed a highly unusual technique for recording and checking his new material. Aspiring songwriters take note.
What I started doing is writing everything on a dictaphone, and what I found was if I put fast forward on the dictaphone after I recorded it and listened to it in garbled, sped up time, it became like a condensed Motown song because everything was happening really quickly. So I'd hear the melody, and the stronger it was when it was garbled and fast and contained, you know, it was almost like you could hear a 2-minute 30 pop record. That's how I started doing it. Started doing Sonic like that. Drugs Don't Work, Lucky Man. And these all started flowing out at the same time. It was amazing. It was like some big doors had been opened and they were just flowing.
The songs became urban hymns. One in particular stood out, Bittersweet Symphony, based on a musical sample of Andrew Loog Oldman's orchestration of the Rolling Stones' The Last Time.
I just bought the record in Manchester, and I had a little dance set one day and I was playing it and I just played the intro and thought, that's it, that little chunk there is going to become something huge. So I tried it with John Leckie when we looped it, and I did the lyric over it. And Urban Hymns went through about 3 different producers until we got to the final setup. Yeah, it was simply dance set, record, dictaphone, singing into the dictaphone, taking that to the studio. But I think the killer moment was when me and Will came down and we did the strings for it. I knew Bittersweet, I'd never heard anything like it in my life, so that was always going to be odd because there was nothing like it. I used to drive around before anyone had heard it and play it really loud at the traffic lights with the windows down, trying to see if anyone would hear it and see the reactions, you know.